Oi, oi, alright, I'm Grant, this is DoodleReview, out here working to give you non-stop daily music content and reviews on all types of music. This week we got mainly new stuff for you. We're looking at Young Thug, Protomartyr and Amaarae. As I'm doing more and more of these, I'm figuring out exactly what I should say in each part, and I've decided this intro segment, I'm just going to spout some of the random shit I think about week to week. My rotation this week, listening-wise, was Young Thug, Lil Uzi Vert and Taylor Swift, and that was blended with this strange recent obsession we've taken on at home of rewatching the series House. Why do that? I need to watch something formulaic to go to sleep to. The series is super dumb, but is entertaining for better or worse. But all of these things combined led me to think about the concept of anti-heroes. Obviously, Uzi and Thugger both have had their run-ins with the law, and Tay Tay has tried on that anti-hero costume as part of her last album. But watching House made me think back to TV shows in the 2000s. If you think about like what was popular at the time, you've got Sopranos, you've got Mad Men, you've got Breaking Bad, Dexter. We had this obsession with the anti-hero, the protagonist who is ultimately bad, but by virtue of seeing the story from their perspective, we kind of root for them. The shows aren't always as cut and dry as, you know, the character being a criminal mastermind. In House, for instance, the central character is just an arsehole, but he's essentially good as he's helping people. You know, Don Draper never really was a criminal, but he was a serial cheat and adulterer. But then on the other side of things, Tony Soprano was just lovable despite being completely ruthless. Flash forward to today though, and under this kind of new moral paradigm we live in, I feel like the concept of that anti-hero has fallen out of vogue. Far more of the dramas we watch, at least, seem more built around a concept of trauma than necessarily someone protagonist that's like an anti-hero. I don't know what relevance that has to absolutely anything, but it's the kind of shit I think about. And if you have any sense, you'll have skipped straight to the reviews by now. But anyway, let's get into it already. Business is Business is actually only Atlanta trapper Young Thug's third album, but it adds to a deep body of work with over 20 self-released and commercial mixtapes to his name, in addition to collaborations. This is also his first album released since his incarceration as part of a RICO case brought against his entire Young Stoner Life record label. While some, maybe me, might have thought this would have led to an album with some more dynamic lyricism outside of the standard hedonistic sex, cars, money, drugs, success bars, Thugger ultimately delivers more of the same. And that's probably wise, to avoid stirring the pot before his trial starts properly, but also more than likely just due to the fact that a lot of this had been recorded prior to his imprisonment. While initially this more of the same approach led me to feel disappointed in the record, a few listens did reveal some highlights, many of which coming from the stacked feature list. In fact, a huge surprise for me is that probably my favourite part of the whole record is the Drake feature on Oh You Went. The beat is one of many great Metro Boomin productions here, weaving some acoustic guitar against vocal samples while some dreamy synth carries the chord progression. And then just out of nowhere, we get Drake actually putting a shift in, delivering some decent wordplay with some great energy. The Metro beats are by far the best in the set, and while he represents about 75% of the production here, you really feel his absence on tracks like Gucci Grocery Bag and Money on the Dresser, two absolute shitters. They have shit beats and they just have like meh bars and performances from Thugger. It's to the album's detriment actually that these are front-loaded as their placement for sure influenced my disappointment for the album as a whole. Metro Boomin's version of the album, which is just like a weird alternate sequence with a couple of bonus tracks, wisely moves these tracks elsewhere in the list, but they should have just 86'd them all together. Mostly though, those two tracks are the only time you can accuse Business of Business of being outright bad. Its main issue is just being bloated with kind of mid tracks. Mad Dog, although it's one of my favourites because this is where Thug's flow feels the highest energy and most vital, actually has a bit of a beat. And Abracadabra has a Travis Scott feature, but like Uncle M, fails to just really leave a lasting impression. And Hoodie is just annoying. As I've said though, the record is not without its high points. Cars Bring Me Out and With the Racks are good old trap bangers, and we get some introspection even on Jonesboro and Went Through It. which brings some definitely needed dynamism. Overall, this is a mixed bag. I could give it a generous 6, but let's be honest, I think it's about a 5. Initially, I found this latest Protomartyr record difficult to write about. Going through my now ritualistic 5 or 6 listens before attempting to get some thoughts down, I was finding it difficult to latch onto the music, to find observations beyond the tired and rote. Not because this is a bad album, but because it's just quite impenetrable. I found my way in by taking a deep dive into Joe Casey's lyrics. So called because they're delivered over music, but make no doubt his words are true poetry. Casey has a way of writing deeply personally, yet revealing nothing, and painting the bleakest scenes that encapsulate real true beauty. He knows when to be blunt and when to be obtuse. Can you hate yourself and still deserve love? Is the question at the heart of Polacrylic's Kid that freezes you dead in your tracks on a first listen, while at other points you're left reaching for the dictionary, having to learn what a spivened horse is or a tontine is. I think where I found the record lacking is the music itself. On one hand, it's almost inconceivable that you would do these words a disservice by not writing solely around them, but by taking this approach, it leaves formal growth lacking in the dissonant or melodic thrills that Ultimate Success Today gave in abundance. That's not to say the album is bereft of any great moments. For Tomorrow has a driving beat and some curious synth panning and left and right, and Make My Way gets the record off to some explosive moments, but I felt myself missing out on the sax freakouts of the last record or the overall more aggressive up-tempo approach of Relatives in Descent. The poetry is outstanding, I just wish the music was quite as thrilling. Overall, I would say it's a 6 out of 10. Fountain Baby is the second full-length album from Ghanaian-American pop artist Amaarae and her major label debut with Interscope. To me, Amaarae kind of occupies a similar space to an artist like Doja Cat stylistically, although they arrive at their respective sounds via different approaches and influences. Amaarae has an authentically Ghanaian Afrobeat sensibility which delivers the idiosyncratic flavour that Doja achieves through her penchant for surrealism, but both create party-ready R&B, pop rap, gift-wrapped in a candy sweet aesthetic. Fountain Baby has a dynamic, multifaceted production team at the helm, but the strongest voices that come through across the record are that of Caillou Steed and KZ the producer. In order to unpack how some of the heightened production came together on the record, I actually went through and compared the few songs the pair didn't collaborate on. Disguise indicates that the lush and sophisticated sound design, manipulating harps and strings that are heard so clearly on Angels in Tibet and Co-Star may be a trademark of Steed, while Big Stepper shows the crisp and propulsive rhythms of Counterfeit and Sociopathic Dance Queen are more of a trademark of KZ. While the production really is a marvel and Amaarae herself just radiates charisma and personality throughout, I find it's the songwriting lacking at points. Songs like Princess Going Digital or Reckless and Sweet have the foundations with memorable lyrical conceits and refrains, but both are examples where the song squanders the potential of a great melodic chorus. It feels like each song has a higher level it just can't reach. To me, this doesn't light a fire in the same way Angel You Don't Know did, but creative production and genre switch-ups like the Santa Gold-esque Sex, Violence, Suicide and daring charisma cement that Amaarae is absolutely an artist to watch in the genre over the next 5 years. I'd give this album a 6 out of 10. That's it. I hope you enjoyed this week's reviews. Hit up my Insta and TikTok for some extra content. This week there's going to actually be standalone full-length reviews of Lil Uzi Vert Pink Tape and Taylor Swift Speak Now, Taylor's version. And I'm going to be putting together a ranking of all of the Strokes side projects. So yeah, take a look out for that. Cheers for watching. See you next time. Peace.